Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Complete Media Network's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell. We're enjoying a nice sunny Vancouver day here, and we've got a great guest. Super excited, looking forward to seeing this guy come across our screens for a long time, and really nice to have him join us. We've got Lyle Chausse joining us here. Lyle has a really interesting, great background that all of our viewers and listeners are going to love here today. He's been in the music industry, I think, his entire working life, and he's also dabbled in a few other things as the years have went by. He has a really great merchandising company that we're going to touch on today for all you business people out there. And he's a big sports guy, loves those 49ers. We're going to get into some talking about sports today. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to have a great time. I hope everybody is tuned in. Sit down, enjoy yourself. We're going to have a great podcast ahead. I want to say thanks so much for joining us today, Lyle. I appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for the introduction. It was great to run into you at the Kiss gig the other night after running it into you at the Barnside Festival earlier in the late summer.
Yeah.
So and you gave me the invite, and here we are.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'm glad you could make the time. I know you're a busy guy. You've got lots on your plate all the time, so it's good you could give me a few minutes here. You're a father of three, a husband, and you're running that business. You manage some artists as well. So yeah, your time is valuable. So we really appreciate it here.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've learned to be busy, and what's the saying? I think somebody said to me once: if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Because they basically won't mess around and get it done. And I try to be that person, and I try to be kind of a work hard, play hard kind of guy. And then when I'm doing nothing, it's not by accident.
Yeah. Yeah, good for you. Yeah.
I did not work very hard yesterday. I just asked my kids or my wife. I did not do anything except enjoy football and friends.
I think you were always the guy that say, okay, the 49ers are on between 1 and 4. I don't want to do any business. I don't want to get a phone call. I don't want to talk. I just want to focus on my Niners. And so Sunday's my couch day watching football. I've been able to enjoy watching football with you before. I actually remember going to your home and watching football, and I don't even think Red Zone was around at the time. I think you were kind of the Red Zone guy, and I had never seen somebody be so efficient with keeping up on the games that were all going on at the same time, and we were getting every touchdown that was happening in the world of football that day. And I left there thinking, that's pretty impressive. And then the Red Zone kicked in, and I thought, hey, Lyle's already had that figured out a few years back. And this guy's on it for sure.
Well, thanks. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of a part of my character is once I find something that I'm passionate about, music or sports, or now I'm doing it the same thing with swag. It's like you find something you love, you find something you put your own time and money into. And then I've tried to just basically, it's always, I've tried to find a way where there's, what if we did this? And what if you did that? And, that's an interesting observation. Like, yeah, I remember getting the NFL Sunday ticket back in the day. And I think it started in the late 90s in the Vancouver or the Canadian market. And, so you order it up off the cable company. And and I used to write down or print off all the games back in the day. There was no Red Zone channel yet, and I know where each game was going on, and then I'd like to bounce around from each 2 or 3 5 key games that were going on that Sunday. And I think a little of that comes also from maybe a little bit of that comes from, well, of course everybody wants to know what the heck's going on, but also from being a DJ back when I was working at CFox. It's like you kind of always want the best of the best, and you learn how to go from one cool song to one cool song. So you're going from one cool game, and it might be Washington and New York, and then, okay, what's Dallas doing? What's LA doing? What's what I mean? And then what's your team doing, or what's the Seahawks doing, or what's the Niners doing? It's just like you want to know what the hell's going on. And it's the unique thing about the NFL, and it's always such a buzz and such a trip, is that there's so many games going on at 10 a.m.
Same
Pacific time.
time. Yeah.
And
Same time.
it's usually an average of 8 to 10 games. And I mean, you just never really see anything else like that in pro sports.
No.
And I used to always love football, but once I learned again in the 90s as a young guy, I was like, holy crap, like get up early and watch these games. Cause I was like every other burnout 21-year-old kid, got home late and partied hard the night before. But so it's like I just started getting up earlier and enjoying it more. And then it was like, once that red zone was available, it was just like, yeah, it was sort of a mixing skill. So that's kind of a cool observation. And it was just like, just check out the best games. And me and some friends yesterday, for the first time in a long time, we actually went to the local pub and did basically the same game.
Nice.
Went in there and we know the guy at the bar. So we're like, okay, I want to watch this game, and this game, right? And it's like, and put the Niners in Jacksonville up on the big screen. And he was, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, here's some money, put it up on the big screen. It's like, done.
Nice. That's great. Yeah.
That's another thing I've learned. If you want to get it done like that, it's like, hey, you kind of got to tip people.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, luckily the Seahawks weren't playing at the same time, because in our area, kind of they are the chosen one on the big screen, but luckily they were in the afternoon, which they normally are if they're here on the coast. So
I used to be a big Seahawks fan when they were an AFC team.
Right.
They were the team to watch, right? We were going down to the Kingdom back in the day, and then we used to go to the university when they were building what's now Lumen Field. And I loved going and watching them when they were in the AFC, but once they came to the NFC West, I couldn't like them anymore.
That was it. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of the Niners, you and I went to the 49ers game here in Vancouver. They had a game at BC Place. Is that about 20 years ago? Something.
It's got to be 20 years ago, because I remember that I didn't have kids when I went, and I've got kids, and my daughter's turning 21 tomorrow. So yeah, it's got to be about 20 years or more.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe that the NFL hasn't done that in the last 20 years, because it was well received. I know it was sold out. We had an absolute blast, and it was great to see the Niners and the Seahawks come. And, there's a lot of fans of both teams all through this market. I know the Seahawks could really do well here. There are a lot of people that make that 2-hour drive down and see the games live and local, but to have them come up here, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing that they were doing that. And, I'm not sure how those deals got cut, whether they were cut with a local promoter or whether it was the NFL, just kind of like they're doing currently now with the league. The business of sport is that you extend your brand by putting it into different markets. They're doing it very well with their international games in London. Now Germany is a part of that schedule. They've done it several times in Mexico. To be able to see it bounce around in different markets is amazing. And of course, they've done a few Canadian games, some in Toronto when the Bills were an absolute disaster, and they couldn't get anybody out to their games because they just weren't a competitive team anymore, and the fan base was giving up. So they bounced a couple games into Toronto, which was great to see. But again, unfortunately, it was kind of the same product. So it still presented a certain challenge. But for us, when we watched, I mean, it was an exhibition game, which normally exhibition games, NFL, it's like, but I think they did a good job of actually playing some major athletes from both teams on that particular day. I remember we got down onto the field level, got some field level passes there, and it was pretty cool to see guys like Steve Young, for me to be like, I don't want to say arm's length, but pretty damn close to Steve Young. And I was in awe of how big the guy was for a quarterback. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
He's a big dude. Even though in the realm of football players, he's not a big dude. Sure. and then the rest of them is like, holy crap, how big are these dudes? And then, but just like I said, like how competitive that particular game was. True. And they actually played a lot of their starters for a decent amount of time.
I know. Yeah.
You don't normally see that in exhibition.
It was smart of them. Yeah. Because exhibition games, for the most part, it's just trying to see, your the rest of the guys on the roster and who's going to, be sort of the backups. And, most of the starters don't play into that final preseason game. And if that, they've only usually play a few possessions. So it's, it's changed. They did, really do a great job by making sure it meant something and, had the starters out there and the people that we really wanted to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I loved it. It was great. Let's hope maybe we can put something together, to try to make it happen again. Because it was.
I've done a few famous road trips. I don't know if you were. Yeah, I don't think you had a part of them, but through some of my music business colleagues, I would get a little crazy and just go and order up like 20 tickets to a game and then just start selling them off to people.
Nice.
And we'd done some trips down to Seattle 2 or 3 times. And I've done the bus trips back in the day, and I never really liked the bus trip because you're kind of always confined to that whole world, and you're kind of hanging out with a bunch of people that you don't really know on the bus trip. And somebody, I don't know, usually somebody just basically, as they say in Wayne's World, he's partied out, he's partied too hard. You get those guys and just like, whoa, man. It kind of brings down the whole world on the bus. So we've done a few 20. I bought a couple of 20 packs of tickets and then hook up friends. They buy them, and then we pick a hotel room that's nearby, and everybody gets a room and does their thing. And we come up with an agenda. But yeah, we've done that a few times, and it's amazing. It's just nothing against the CFL, especially here in Vancouver. They've done a great job of building up the Lions. Unfortunately, they didn't pull it off this weekend, but the Lions have done a great job of starting to mimic what the NFL experience is. And the NFL experience has definitely, again, as pro sport, and the NFL product is such a great product. It's intruded, if you will, into the Canadian market and penetrated more than ever before. And people are more aware, like, again, you've got the red zones, you've got all these channels, you've got, of course, the internet, which again, like 20, 25 years ago, when I was getting hardcore into football, all of that stuff was just breaking. And now, along with fantasy football leagues, people are just nuts about football. So we've done a few trips down there, and taken some people down there who have maybe never been to an NFL game before, which is always fun to see. And then, so I do that a lot. And then I try to hit 1 or 2 games a year now, in a different city. I came close to going to Pittsburgh this year. Nice. Probably still just going to go pop down to a Niners game now. How they're playing pretty good again this season. Started good, got bad, and now they had a nice day at the office yesterday.
Yeah, big win.
And but yeah, I'll probably slide down the coast and catch a couple of 1 or 2 of the home games. But we went last year to Las Vegas and watched the Raiders and Niners on New Year's Day, which it's cool to go watch the NFL or your favorite team in another city.
Sure.
Like, again, not just the closest city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah, that must have been a blast.
It was, especially on New Year's Day, man. I mean, everybody was in such a great mood, and with both fan bases being from California, which is, again, so close to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely packed. Such a great atmosphere. Both fan bases so respectful, so much respect for each other. And the Allegiant Stadium, the experience there was fantastic. So yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, awesome. It's it is nice to see your team in other cities and see the support, people that actually make the trip and travel. And you're right, being from California, both those teams originally, not a hard jaunt. And the great thing about Vegas is typically you can get a decent price for a hotel room, and it doesn't cost you crazy amounts of money to make the trip. So easy to do.
I mean, Las Vegas has got it dialed in. It's a really great place for people from all over the world to come and enjoy the NFL. Most people are like, maybe they're not going to go to Houston, or maybe they're not going to go to Cleveland to watch a game.
Sure.
But you say, hey, let's go to Las Vegas and watch a game, and everybody goes, because it'll attract both fan bases.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the day, it's Las Vegas. At the end of the day, it's Las Vegas. So there's lots of stuff to do. You can build a few days around it. You can do other things. So
Yeah.
You're going to see that stadium pretty sold and sold out for a lot of times because you know people will come to represent the visiting team as much as they will to support the Raiders.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think all the professional sports leagues were always a little worried about Vegas because the gambling aspect and worrying about, maybe that it could seep in and, be some problems for them. But once sort of the Vegas Golden Knights broke the streak of not having a professional team there, and they had such success and were able to really, get the city behind them, as well as, so many people influx from all over. And then now the Raiders, and there's an F1 race there this weekend, and
Yeah.
it's going to be huge. They actually are using some of the strip for part of the
Yeah.
course, and it's becoming a sports city finally.
Yeah, I mean, once sports figured out and saw themselves more as an entertainment entity and not just the game itself, and such a lifestyle, the way people, rock their brands, whether it's a hat or a shirt or, bumper sticker on their car. It's just sort of like 24 hours a day, people rep their teams, right? So they saw it as such an entertainment product and they put more time and energy into it, and you started to see more and more celebrities being at games. You started to see more and more musicians performing or doing, like look at what they've always done with the Super Bowl. They've always had it star-studded with fantastic music acts, both in pregame, outside at the tailgates, other private events, corporate events, sponsored events.
Right.
There's just like, it's just premier talent, and it just got closer and closer, and it just became this mecca and meshed out to be, a fantastic entertainment product, football. And you see that all the other leagues have copycatted it now. Sure. And there's no other way to talk about it. And the Golden Knights did a great job of taking that and seeing what they were doing with the NFL and putting it in, and like you say, being first. And I mean, I love it. You can go to a Golden Knights game and there's bands playing outside. Like, it's fantastic, man. I mean, unfortunately, you can't do that in Vancouver, normally in November. I've tried to put a couple of bands in my career and hey, let's put a band outside at Rogers Arena and have a tailgate party outside. And it's like, the people in the organization are into it, and then you got to start worrying about rain because you just don't know. Yeah, you could have the best of intentions of putting a band out there on a Saturday afternoon at 3:00 in the afternoon, but I mean, it's Vancouver. It'll rain if you you have a stretch of 9 days of sunshine, but when your gig comes along, it'll rain.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the case. Unfortunately, that's how it is.
We don't get the same vibe, and you see it at the Staples Center down in LA too. The same thing, like that giant plaza outside, and it's covered. And the weather in America, a lot of American markets, it dictates a different kind of vibe for sure, right? Yeah. But still, there's nothing like hockey in Canada has still got its thing, and you see with all the new arenas in Canada, there's more and more entertainment being built into it. Edmonton is fantastic how they've got a huge foyer and they put bands inside there, and they've been hiring some great bands and putting them in there. And then as you look and see what the Canadian teams have been doing in the playoffs the last couple of years, and building some fantastic parties outside during the playoff runs, and creating huge tailgate scenes, and hiring fantastic bands like the Trues and whatnot, and building this fantastic vibe outside for the fans. It's unbelievable to see these worlds colliding of music, entertainment, sports. It's awesome, man. It's just a way different world now.
I know. Yeah. No, it's nice because a lot of people do love music and sports, just like you and I, and seeing the worlds come together, it just makes so much sense. So
yeah, when we were at the Raiders game, to give you I don't know if you've had a chance to go to a Raiders game yet, but I mean, Joe Satriani did the national anthem on guitar, and Ice Cube played the halftime, and it wasn't lip sync, man. It was all like, it was like they in Las Vegas again. They really, really put a lot of time, money, energy, resources towards it, and they make sure that it's top-notch entertainment. It's fantastic.
That's really great. Yeah. I just want to end it with sports. Let's go back to sports, and I'll finish it off. This is actually going to be segmented up a little bit. We're going to edit it to, I think, 3 different genres of the Complete Media Network. And the one I want to end it with is talking sports. Um, we had a really special moment last weekend with the BC Lions playing a playoff game at BC Place. The very next day, the Whitecaps playing a playoff game across the street. The Canucks were playing, and they're playing really well. So people are in a buzz about the city. This city can be a sports town. We saw it during the Olympics. There have been some low moments and down times, but what did it mean to you to see sort of really re-energized Vancouver sports scene last weekend and recently with the success of the teams?
Well, that's a great question, because I was, for a minute, as a guy who's worked on that, I call it that block, even though it's a lot bigger than that block. But I have the privilege again of working in what's now Rogers Arena many times, and I've had the privilege of going to BC Place for both pleasure and for work. So that block, that area is really special. It's a kind of that's a whole other podcast of how that is and isn't.
Yeah.
But it's pretty energizing. It is very, I was having a moment where it was the same thing happened in music a couple nights ago. Guns N' Roses was in the stadium and Wu-Tang Clan was in the arena.
Right.
And so you've got like just the two bands who have been able to have their middle finger in the air like most of their career, and people love it. And completely different genres. And I was just like so happy to see that happening just a few weeks before that. In the wake of COVID, it's just great to see all of this happening. But you're right. To have the Canucks and Lions playing on one night on the Saturday, and then
Whitecaps next.
The Whitecaps were playing Sunday night. Again, it was kind of a bummer that again that the Lion. Well, no, the Lions won that night, and the Canucks won that night. Yep, that's right. Yeah. So I'm getting this weekend confused with the previous weekend, because the opposite happened this week, where the teams were on the road, and Saturday we spent all day watching with some buddies out here by my place, and we made a day out of it, and unfortunately not as victorious. Right. I was really pissed about the Lions. I was really pissed about the Canucks losing to the Leafs, because going back to what you were saying, you're right. It's reinvigorated. It's nice to see a winning culture. It's nice to see fans excited, talking positively. Again, with my family, I'm lucky because my daughter's in the arenas a lot, working on merch, and she's just right there on the floor where the fans are, where the Darrens and the Lyles are, and then the Cindys and whoever, and she's like, the fans are just like eating it up the other night when they won the game on Saturday night before they hit the road, and the fans were just really, really eating it up, man, and they're buying lots of swag, which is great. And you see people rocking Canucks gear right now, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And again, I saw a lot of people starting to pick up again with people wearing some Lions stuff, which is great. And it made me say, I've got to get some fresh Lions stuff, because I went to a few games this year with my son, and I'm like, I'm going to buy some, and I didn't know what the hell I wanted.
My orange shirt. Yeah.
I've got a lot of swag. So sometimes it's like, do I need another black shirt? Do I need an orange shirt? Do I need, like, what do I need when it comes to the BC Lions? So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's great to see. And again, we sort of touched base on it earlier, so I'll try to be brief. With new ownership with the BC Lions, they're trying to invigorate a lot. My son and I went down to the home opener with the Lions to support what the organization is doing. They're trying to bring a culture back, and both new and old fans, and they're creating an atmosphere outside that has previously really only been happening in other markets. I don't think Canadian football fans here in Vancouver understand. Maybe they have, or maybe they haven't, but I would say that they probably haven't been to football in a lot of other Canadian cities. I've had the privilege of being at games in Winnipeg, Regina, Calgary, and Edmonton in the last couple of years. And I mean, yeah, they're different cities. They're smaller, they're prairie, they're this, and people will say there's nothing else to do. So what? It's a football game.
Like,
It's the way they do it. Like we were at Grey Cup last year in Regina, and with Tuke, and we played at Saskatchewan Rough Riders
their house.
Saturday night tailgate party,
Oh, awesome. Fun.
and we were the headline band. It was unbelievable. It
Amazing.
was 5,000 people in this huge building, and I mean, people
Cool.
were having such a good time.
Cool.
Sure, a bunch of them weren't watching our show. I don't care. It was, but thousands were and having a blast.
Love it.
And the culture there is, I think, again, we're trying to pick up some of that culture here, and then they're trying to invigorate it because they know they need to. And then, having said that, Vancouver's hosting the Grey Cup next year, so I think they're trying to build a culture where people can know that they can go down and enjoy themselves and enjoy a little more than the game.
Yeah, have a fun time, and
have a fun time, and again, create a sports culture, because football is different than hockey. Hockey's kind of funny in Vancouver, where people seem to just want to show up about 6:45 for a 7 o'clock game. Everybody just rushing through the doors at the same time, and get a beer and some popcorn into their seat all in the same 5 minutes.
Weird.
It's absolutely nuts. And whereas football fans, it's a whole other thing where there's a whole other hang going on.
Tailgate can be all day. You're having a nice long hang. I love Omar Doman, what he's done, and I really think it's going to reinvigorate CFL around here. And I was at that game. I got to see LL Cool J perform at halftime, and
that was great.
The Trues had come down and did the opening show, and it was amazing. Really, really smart of them to start developing those types of ways of attracting a crowd that has a fun day out of it. So
it's great. So it's overdue. It's refreshing. There's just not enough adjectives.
Yeah.
As again, I privileged to work in entertainment, so at any time that there's somebody to putting a little effort to it to make it a little more fun, a little more of a show, a little more than the game.
Yeah, totally.
And so that people get more value for their ticket, and don't just feel like they just walked in and saw another commercial sponsor and and the singing of "Oh Canada." Hopefully, it can be just a little bit more than that before the game, and people can feel more attached to the experience. And at the end of the day, the game itself is it's fun, because fans are awesome.
Oh, yeah.
No different than rock fans. I mean, Kiss fans, for instance, are unique. It's great to see them all decked out the other night. We went to Iron Maiden a few weeks ago, and same thing. Going to an Iron Maiden game is like going to a European football match, and like everybody's wearing an Iron Maiden shirt.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you've had it for 25 years or whether you've had it for 2 weeks. There isn't anybody in there that isn't wearing an Iron Maiden shirt. So it's like going to a European football game.
Yeah, that's true.
Unbelievable, man. It's just so much passion. And I think I've seen Maiden well over 40 times now in my life.
Awesome.
And I don't know if it's 40 and something or 50 something now, but it's just like I went because I love the culture as much as I love the band.
Right.
I went because the fans are so great.
Rabid, incredible.
And they're cool. Like the fans,
everybody's fun. Everybody's really fun and cool.
And laughing and having drinks and
having a great time.
And there's no fights at a Maiden show. There's no BS. The band won't put up with it.
Yeah.
If you're down on the floor and you want to mess up and start causing fights in a mosh pit, they'll stop the show and kick you out.
Yeah.
That's not what it's for.
I know.
And it's just it's a whole other thing. And so, there's so many great things going on in music. And my wife last night, she had Lauryn Hill down at the arena, and she was sending me clips, and I'm like, man, their music is so great. Like
Fugees,
and it's just like, I love all that stuff too. While I grew up listening, I love really good hip hop. So it's there's so much great stuff out there that I just encourage people, whether it's a game with the Lions, Caps, Canucks, go to a game, try it. Try it. You might just have a good time, and go to a gig. please go to a gig and challenge yourself. We have so many other great things going on in our city. In the summer, there's so many great festivals. Go take 50 or $100, go get a date, go get a friend, and go out and go see something you've never seen before.
Yeah.
Just try it.
Just
try it, man.
There's nothing more to say, Lyle. That's perfect. Well, that was another episode of Complete Sports Media, guys. Wow, yeah, we've been very faithful with our podcast every Monday, but nice to have a fresh face and a new guy that can really talk about a lot of really great sports in the Lower Mainland and the world. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Take care of yourself. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, tell your friends, tell your family, like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll keep back to you. We'll be very soon. We're going to get great guests all the time. So keep tuning in. Love you. Bye for now. Take care.